Now, then, may we have our next contestant, please? Would you tell our panel what your name is, please, and where you're from?
My name is A.H. Waite. I'm from the Signal Corps Engineering Laboratories at Fort Monmouth, New Jersey.
Now, Mr. Waite is a civilian who has worked as a radio operator with the Navy for many years. As he told you, he is now a radio engineer for the Army Signal Corps at Fort Monmouth, New Jersey. You see, fighting wars is not the only job of our armed forces. For example, the establishment of a United States base at the South Pole was pioneered by the Navy's Admiral Richard E. Byrd. Again, I ask you to look at the screen. Now, this is Little America in 1934. And what have we here? It looks disastrous.
This is a tractor that was on the way to the advanced base where Admiral Byrd lived for 4.5 months alone throughout the winter of 1934.
Now,
just after it dropped in a crevasse that was 180 feet deep, and the people in it saved their lives by a matter of inches.
Boy, that is just one of the few minor problems on the way to the South Pole. Now, may we have the next slide, please? Now, which of those is Admiral Byrd?
Admiral Byrd is standing just to the right of center in the black fur parka, and the group is standing on top of the 9 by 13-foot shack, 123 miles south of Little America, where he spent the winter.
Now, this is when he sent the men back, and what did he tell them? What were his orders, his last orders to them?
His last words to the group were, "You must not come back for me under any circumstances throughout the winter until next October, even if I send for you."
Well, so he went alone, stayed up there at the South Pole alone, and after about, wasn't it 3 months, sir, that the radio transmission became weaker and weaker?
Well, about 3.5 months, and then there were spells when we didn't, he wasn't heard from for maybe 8 to 10 days at a time.
So contrary to orders, they took off, they sent an expedition out, but the expedition was closed in by weather and had to put back. And then another couple of weeks after that, they sent out a second expedition. It, too, was forced back. And finally, a third expedition was sent out to the shack of Admiral Byrd. And here we see a picture of Admiral Byrd as they found him, quite alive, but not too well. Right, Mr. Wayne?
That's correct. We got there after 70 hours of driving in pitch darkness at 70 below zero, and found him with his hair down around his shoulders, and he had lost over 55 pounds in weight from carbon monoxide poisoning. It was necessary for the little relief team to live there with him in that tiny shack for 2.5 months to get him back to shape before they could bring him back to Little America.
Well, panel, I'm not even going to ask you in turn what you think this gentleman's participation was. Will somebody shout out or raise a hand or anything? Henry, take a guess.
Well, you said you must have led the rescue team that got him.
Not I.
Or then you were the communications man with whom he got in touch.
No?
Not quite.
Betsy?
You are the gentleman... I don't know. Let's see.
All right.
Well, he picked up something on his radio, is that right?
No, well, Henry was almost right, except he used the word led the expedition. As a civilian, he would not have led the expedition, but he was a member of all 3 of the expeditions that went for Admiral Byrd. And Mr. Waite, I would like to ask you a question which I'm sure everybody is asking. Why would Admiral Byrd insist on spending these 6 months there by himself?
Well, as the advanced base was being built, we had to move tons and tons of equipment over snow for the first time with automotive equipment, and it was quite a precarious job. We were unable to get food enough out there for 3 people to live alone for that period of time, and since it's psychologically impossible for 2 people to live alone that long, as many married couples find out even here in our civilization, it became necessary for 1 man to take up the job, and the Admiral chose the job for himself.
In other words, it is less dangerous for 1 man than for 2 because 2 men would fight. If you've got food for 3, somebody can settle the argument. But you can't send 2, so they had to choose the 1.
Exactly.
Mr. Waite, it's delightful to have you with us tonight. Thank you very, very much. Now then, our next contestant is a Major General in the United States Air Force. Will you tell us your name, sir, please, and where you're from?
General Lee Waite, U.S. Air Force, retired, presently with the Kemper Insurance Groups of Chicago and living in Washington, D.C.
This is General Wade. Now, General, if you will whisper in my ear, the folks at home would like to share your secret. Well, this concerns a peacetime achievement of General Wade's, and we will start with Bill. Let's start with you, Bill.
All I'm good at tonight, Gary, is reading the insignia. I know you're a senior command pilot, which is natural, General. At peacetime...
Peacetime.
Has it had anything to do with distant flights?
Yes.
Jane?
Distant flight?
Distance flight.
Distance flight. Setting a record is involved then.
Yes.
Yes.
Henry?
That's correct.
Around the world?
You are correct.
Yes, that is exactly it, panel. In 1924, 3 years before Lindbergh crossed the Atlantic, General Wade was one of the pilots who completed the first round-the-world flight. Now, Bill Cullen, if you want to faint, take a picture at the plane in which he flew around the world. You'll forgive me for saying so, sir. It doesn't look like much of a plane by our present-day standards.
Comparatively, it is not.
Now, this one plane surely couldn't have lasted you all the way around the world.
No, it didn't. They gave me the second one.
The second one.
But the other two made it all the way.
Uh-huh. Now, the pontoons were interchangeable. You sometimes used wheels, sometimes used pontoons.
That's correct. We changed several times.
Uh-huh. Well, now, before discussing the General's flight any further, I would like to introduce to you and to our audience a man who made the same flight in record-breaking time just last year, Major Ernest Camel of the Strategic Air Command. Major Camel? Now, Major Camel made this round-the-world record in 45 hours and 19 minutes. General, how long did it take you?
We were 175 days.
175 days. Of course, last year they went around the world non-stop, refueled in mid-air. But here you had to stop, repair, but you were working at it every available moment, were you not?
Every day.
General Wade, it's been a great joy meeting you. I remember reading about it, I do.